So having to do online meeting for a long time, just, it hampers that opportunity to physically connect with other members of the club. Yes, that's for me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
can
you,
I go?
Master Grace, and yes, Toastmaster Cinderella. Oh, you
Sorry,
can go. Toastmaster Tari will come to you after her. You can go.
I'm sorry I can't turn on my video at the moment. But am I
That's
audible?
okay. You are audible.
Okay, so let me share a personal experience. So I belong to a strictly online club. A club that has members from Jos, Plateau State, from Kano, and Jos, Kano, and Maiduguri.
Is
So
that commercial hub? Sorry, Toastmaster
yes,
Cinder.
yes, that's
Okay.
commercial.
Okay.
So most of us, since we're in different states, we haven't seen each other before. And I joined during the COVID, right? So it was COVID, and of course there were no, so it was going on well. And then until I relocated to Abuja, also part of the club. So I decided to visit some physical clubs in Abuja, and I was thinking I was a dawn in online meetings. Like I was delivering speeches, nobody, just me now and the laptop, until I stood in front of a physical audience and I lost my God. That was when I knew the difference between having between virtual and physical meetings. In delivering a speech virtually, you're just looking at you're just looking at your laptop or whatever device you're using, but standing in front of a physical audience with all the pairs of eyes looking at you, that was when I really understood what it meant, what we meant to overcome your fear of public speaking. So for me, that's one of the that's one limiting factor for online club,
All
especially
right.
commercial hub Toastmasters club, which is actually struggling at the moment because of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Cinderella. And we'll take lastly on this subject. But before we take Toastmaster Tari, thank you, Toastmaster Liz. The fact that you don't get to hug people, just confirming what we heard from President Grace Peters, and the fact that you don't get to see beautiful faces and body gestures. Yeah, you see beautiful faces here, but body gestures, yeah, a little less with the online meetings. And okay, let's hear from you, Toastmaster Dr. Tari.
Okay, good evening, DTM. Good evening, everybody. So for me, when I first joined Toastmasters, of course, we're having mostly, well, if not totally, physical meetings. Can you hear me, please?
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
Okay, we're having physical meetings, and I feel the quality of speeches or the quality of a speech, in a physical meeting on the physical stage is quite different from what we do virtually. Virtually, you're in front of the camera, you're sitting down, looking like you now today, looking at the sea of black, probably one or two faces to see. And even when giving a speech, there's a limitation. You need to be in front of your camera, except you have a moving camera. But it's different when you're on a live stage and in front of a live audience. The feeling is totally different. It's different when you can connect and look into people's eyes, when you can see people's reactions, when you can, feel the room, in the matter of speaking. I don't know that you know what I mean. It's quite different. When you can move around and use the stage, it's different. And I think we're losing that part of our meetings. We're losing that part because most times we meet virtually. And it's something I would love to see come back fully, really. Physical meetings where we can, of course, everybody has talked about connecting one another, but my own is really the stage, giving that speech on a physical stage and actually making use of that stage and really connecting with the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Tari. Fantastic comments, everyone. Fantastic. My next question is then, how do I couch this? Where do we go from here is what I'm thinking. Where do we go from? We've talked about all the challenges with online meetings. Yes, but then we've gone ahead and we've done it anyway. And might I say, we have done it successfully. It's just that across board, you begin to feel the room, just like this was Tari spoke about, but this time feel the room, not necessarily physically, but we're not feeling the room, realizing that there has to be more than these online meetings that we have for our Toastmasters meetings. There are clubs just like Commercial Hub, where Toastmasters Cinderella comes from, where they are strictly online clubs, and they've always been like that before COVID. They likely will always be like that, just for the reason or for the sake of how the clubs are constituted. But then, does everybody here want to go back to a physical meeting, strictly physical meeting? Yes or no in the chat box. Who wants to go back to a physical meeting strictly? If you want to, yes. If you don't want to, no. If you are like Toastmaster Cinderella, who has always been in an online club, rather, just say no choice, because you don't have a choice, at least unless you change your club. I see no, no, no. Is this no? Let me interpret this no very well. Toastmaster Kabir Suleiman, what's the no saying? Let me know whether I asked my question properly. Toastmaster Kabir, please.
Yes, distinguished Toastmasters. Yeah, you're right. Yes, my no actually means I wouldn't want a situation where it is only strictly physical. I would love to have it hybrid because it also affords other members and guests opportunity to connect even when they are not physically available. But yes, the advantages or the positives around the physical are quite enormous and really different from hybrid strictly.
Fantastic, thank you. Toastmaster Kabir, you have made my point for me today. If I ended this today here and said, I'm not doing again, I'm not talking again, my job here is done, here we will just know that Toastmaster Kabir delivered the message for today and it was done. And that's it. As we transit to a new mandate in the coming year, my utmost desire is that we transit to more of hybrid meetings than strictly online meetings. And we see that we've come so far with COVID and all the progress that we have made with COVID, with online meetings, and despite all the challenges that we have listed, the connectivity issues, whether they be network connectivity or human connectivity, whatever level of connectivity issues that exist there, we still have come to a point when we realize we do not want to leave that all behind. We want to take the good of all that has happened with COVID and merge it with the good of all that happened before COVID and bring it into one cohesive element called hybrid meetings. And that's my campaign. That's my campaign going forward, that as many clubs as possible will go forward and start having hybrid meetings. And the biggest benefit of it is what Toastmaster Kabir has shared with us already. It's expanding the reach of Toastmasters to serve more people. My local club in the city of Port Harcourt, Nigeria, Oil City, started hybrid meetings sometime, was that a year ago or just over a year ago? And we are practically constrained to have those hybrid meetings because we have people who do not reside in that city, who reside in Lagos, who are official members of the club. So it's not something that we decide today, oh, let's just have it because it's fancy. Let's have it because, oh, this might be a nice thing to try. It is our default going forward because we need to keep reaching those members who do not reside in the same locality like us. And that's one of the biggest benefits of hybrid clubs. When people like Toastmasters, Ayodele, Olani, for instance, are out of the city of Lagos temporarily, they can still get to connect with their clubs because they have that optionality of connecting online, even though there are people physically in the club. And the second biggest benefit is that whether we like it or yes, just the way 2020, everyone began shouting, the new normal, the new normal, the new normal, the new normal. Everywhere you talk, the new normal. What's the new normal? I strongly believe, dear Toastmasters, that hybrid meetings are the new normal. And I say that not just because we are in Toastmasters, I say that as corporate people, I say that because it has become a critical business skill that everyone needs in the world, even where we work, even where we serve, even where we serve religiously in church. We finished the Toastmasters Nigeria conference just a few days ago. And It was a hybrid conference. There's practically no conference you hold these days that will not be a hybrid conference, because you always have to cater for those people who might not be able to show up physically. So that's the new normal. And it's the new normal, not just for Toastmasters, it's the new normal globally, it's the new normal across every facet of the world that we operate in. But then how do we make the best of it is where we want to dwell for a few minutes before I wrap this up. How do we make the best of it? The first thing, the very foundation for great hybrid meetings is preparation. Preparation. If you forget everything that we have said in this meeting, do not forget that the foundation for great hybrid meetings is preparation. And preparation is not new to Toastmasters, because preparation is the hallmark of a great Toastmaster. Simple things that we used to do pre-COVID normal, come to a meeting 30 minutes before the time. And why do we do that? Gives us time to settle in, gives us time to meet those people who are coming in for the first time, gives us time to set up the speaking area, set up the chairs, just set up the entire room for the meeting, gives us time to chit chat and bond. And I like the word I've heard a few times in this meeting, connect even before the meeting starts. It is no different from hybrid meetings, because that preparation, that element of preparation is also critical. But when we say preparation, what do we mean? I would say two things. But before we go there, or because for the sake of time, we have just a few minutes, I would say two things are critical for the element of preparation. And I say this with hindsight. I say this by virtue of experience, having been in a club that holds a hybrid meeting, that holds hybrid meetings, and I've held it for well over a year now, and has come through all those phases from purely physical meetings to online meetings. Two things, if you forget anything else, two things are critical. Hybrid harmony is number one. A phrase that you wonder, how do I remember it? H squared. I like all those acronyms that folks like DTM Dokun share around, but I can't find one for this. But remember, hybrid harmony is number one. And what do we mean by hybrid harmony? We see a number of times where, for those off times when folks like Toastmaster Grace, for instance, isn't able to show up in her club physically and they are holding a hybrid meeting, but she's part of the online audience, we do tend to see a disconnection of the online audience a lot. And that's what detracts people, makes people pull away from being a part of the online audience and feel like, oh yes, online, I'm not a part of the meeting experience. That is something we have to be conscious of. Hybrid harmony is something we have to be conscious of. But what are the practical steps that we take to being conscious of it? I'll tell you what we do practically and what we've learned from experience, even from my own local club. Meeting roles. Our meeting roles will no longer be the same as we transit, just the same way we transited into online meetings and we started having roles like Zoom Master. And now Zoom Master is a permanent fixture for most meetings. It's the same way meeting roles will transit and translate as we go into hybrid meetings. And we will have things like a tech master. What will a tech master do? He handles all the gadgets, because technology is key. Technology is so important. In fact, technology is my other point. When I told you I have only two things to share about how we prepare towards hybrid meetings. So one is hybrid harmony. The second one is just technology, and I'll come to that a bit more. But talking about meeting roles, something happened when we started having these hybrid meetings. We would have one of everything. One of all the role players would have one timer. And we just realized that it was a struggle. That one timer was not able to effectively communicate the timing to both people who were online and people who were on site physically. There was always a lag. And then we moved from that and started having two timers. We call them online timer and on-site timer. And then we would take timing reports from the both of them at the end of the meeting. But we realized also that was not too smooth, because it felt a little, oh, how does one person give a report, this other person give a report? Then eventually we realized what would work. There will still be two timers, one online, one on-site, but there will be one chief timer between the two of them. They will collect their reports together, and only one person will speak for the office of the timer or for the function of the timer per meeting. And that's how we began to get it right. That's how it began to make more sense, such that we could cater to both sides of the audience. Inclusion, hybrid, harmony. It's very important. There's so many roles that this concept of harmony, this concept of inclusion cut across. Table topics. We select one person from the online audience via the raise of hand button or via just an indication in the chat box. We select another person from the on-site audience, physical audience, so that we keep the balance between the two. These are just two examples, but every role that we play in Toastmasters, we need to think about it carefully. The role of the vice president membership, for instance, who monitors, or who is a newcomer here, or has this person been welcomed? Have we been friendly enough to this guest that we had today in today's meeting? That role takes on a new dimension, because for a hybrid meeting, you need to have that presence for someone meeting that function. And it doesn't have to be the vice president membership. It can be a member of the club who has been tasked to look out for the guests that are online, because all of us that are members of the club cannot just show up online and be on site, rather physically, and just enjoy the meeting and forget that there are people we invited to this same meeting who are online. So because of that, we have greeters who are positioned online. We have people who are in the hall, online, on site, physically, but then are also connected to the meeting online via their phones, just to monitor the chat traffic, just to monitor how the meeting is coming across online, because we do not want it to be in the early days when we started these hybrid meetings. There were times when the online audience will go off for almost 5 minutes. It will be someone who calls someone's phone and says, we have not been connected for 5 minutes. We don't even know what people are up to. That is atrocious, Toastmasters. It should never happen. Learn from our experience that someone in the hall physically needs to be connected to the online audience to ensure that whatever is being transmitted, then we are getting feedback real time and know how to adjust when we need to adjust. Hybrid harmony. The second thing, and where I will pack this, because this subject is quite broad, and I'm only giving these tips today as a means of encouragement to us as Toastmasters. And because I look around the room and I see that most of us are Toastmasters leaders in various realms, it is our plea, it is my plea that we begin to champion this cause. And it doesn't mean it will be perfect from day one, but like I've shared some of our struggles in the early days for me, my own club, my own local club, and how we have overcome those struggles. So it shows that there will be teething problems in the early days when we decide to embark on this journey, but those teething problems are not the reason why we would say never and not go forward with it. The final thing I will talk about with respect to this is technology. And technology, I will say two things about technology. Internet, which we have mentioned, Toastmaster Ekuchi did dwell on that. Can you hear me? And all of that is the product of not having the best of internet connections. And a number of times we say it almost seeming like, oh, we are in Africa, the internet is not strong here. Has anybody here been in a meeting with foreigners? And when I say foreigners, there are people in the West, in other continents, and their internet connection was also breaking. Anybody? Just raise a hand, put a 1, just number 1 on the chat box. If you've ever been in a meeting where someone was joining from the West, Toastmaster Josephine, I see you, thank you. And they had internet connectivity issues. Toastmaster Mavis, I see you, thank you, my people, thank you. There's a saying, some old saying, that in the mouth of 2 witnesses, a word is justified. It's an old saying. So Toastmaster Josephine and Mavis have let us know that it happens. And you can see that there are not many hands raised, because we say, oh, it doesn't really happen a lot, but it does happen. And because that is a challenge that we all have to deal with, we have to find ways to surmount the challenges. So challenges exist for us to find ways to surmount them. And some of the things we do, again, to surmount them is preparation. Over time, again, best practice I've seen is that people have multiple internet devices, internet connectivity devices available for these hybrid meetings, because 1 might fail, sometimes 2 even fail. So they have a plan B, we have a plan C, all on top of the plan A. And that's something that works very well. But beyond internet connectivity, the second most powerful thing required for hybrid meetings is audio visuals. And this is very broad. This covers sound, microphones, and the visual, and that's for the audio part. The visuals part is about a projector, is about a TV screen, is about a screen that allows those people who are physically present to see those people who are joining the meeting online. That is the way we maintain the connection, because it will be just like a practical sea of black, almost like we have here. We have almost a sea of black here. It will be a total sea of black if you do not even have a means to see the people who are online. And we do that, we maintain that connection either using a projector screen or some TV. And that's when we begin to grow this culture of a hybrid meeting. Again, in building that culture, flexibility, patience will be key, because we do not just start from day one and have all these things, but then we start again by planning, preparing, and just deciding as a club. And it's not one person's decision, it's deciding as a club, because it takes a whole lot of effort. It's far more complex to hold our meetings hybrid than to hold them either just simply physically or simply online. So it takes everybody willing to pull in the right direction. But just as you have answered me that we do not want to go back to strictly physical meetings, and you have also answered all of us telling us that, well, online meetings have connectivity issues. We need to connect to people. We want to hug people. We want to shake their hands when we hand over control of the podium. We want to feel the room. We want to feel those butterflies in our bellies. Just as Cinderella wants to ensure that when she stands up to speak in a physical meeting, she does it as a master, not just in the comfort of sitting behind a screen, laptop, just talking to a sea of black. And how we get there is with these hybrid meetings, but it is a step-by-step effort. We will start small and we'll get there eventually, but we are all convinced with everything we've put into the room today that that is the future. And I'm hoping that as we move forward as Toastmasters, and as we transit even to a new mandate in the coming days, that club leaders, area leaders, division leaders, district leaders, we make this one of our new goals to ensure that most of our clubs begin to transit to hybrid meetings. So today has been not just about efficient tips or effective tips for online meetings. You will see, I told us we're building another layer to this. It's really about effective tips for hybrid meetings, because that is the future. And the future is now. Thank you very much. And back to you, Toastmaster Grace Peterson.
Let's applaud our guest speaker for today. I can't see those emojis. I can't feel the clap. Is this another impediment of an online meeting? Can you unmute yourself and let's applaud the guest speaker for today? Thank you very kindly, DTM Chips. Yes, let's feel the energy. Thank you for that session. I must say it was quite engaging. I love the fact that you encouraged from us to feel our inputs on the subject matter, and you didn't just come with slides. Slides are good, yeah, but let's test the real life scenario and let's have solutions to this problem. So Toastmasters on this call, do we have questions to this regard? Do we have question how to, have the hybrid harmony meetings? Do we have question on what DTM Chooks has talked about, tips for an effective online meeting, and not just online meeting, a hybrid meeting? Something stood out for me in the course of this, in the course of his presentation. He said something very profound. He said the foundation of a great hybrid meeting is preparation. Can we be overly prepared for these things? There are certain things we don't have control of. Yes, like the technology aspect of it. So fellow Toastmasters, please, do you have questions? Kindly drop your questions on the chat box or raise your hand so that we can take your question and send it to our facilitator for today. Reading through the comments on the chat box, Toastmaster Cinderella says, wow, thank you, DTM Chooks. Toastmaster Equichi say, my notepad is full, so much to take away. Thank you so much. Thank you very kindly, the Zing DTM Chooks, for sharing those nuggets for effective hybrid meeting. Do we have questions? Oga Chooks, thank you. A great time to have this timely intervention. DTM Chooks, I have a question. Since nobody wants to ask the question, if people refuse to respond, what do I do? Toastmaster Ajeola, he has put in the chat box that if people refuse to respond, what do I do? If people refuse to respond to what actually, would like clarity on that question.
I believe that he's referring to if people refuse to embrace the hybrid meetings, what does he do? Toastmaster Ayodeji, type yes if we are correct. So Toastmaster Ayodeji, what you do is that you do nothing. You keep on with your current format. If you were doing just physical meetings, you keep on with it. If you're doing strictly online meetings, you keep on with it, because hybrid meetings are complex and hybrid meetings are even more tasking than having just one platform. And you really need everyone on board. If you can get the right quorum of people and the right type of people to back it, we keep on our current trajectory until such a day that happens. Thank you.
Toastmaster Joy Ekichi, your hand is up. Your hand is up. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes. So my question is, in a situation where a club is already struggling with getting role players or people to participate, I remember you mentioned something about getting a virtual timer, a physical timer, and a cheap timer. That's a lot of timers. And we're looking for only one timer. We've not even seen one timer. And you want us to have 3 timers, right? So I'm just saying, in such, it's an effective way. It's foolproof. It will work. How can we improvise in a situation where for a particular hybrid meeting, there aren't a lot of volunteers for roles? How do we manage the situation and still get the same value with less? That's my question.
So improvisation is one of the hallmarks of Toastmasters. It's the reason why you forget lines in your speech, but nobody ever remembers but you, because you're the one who wrote the speech. And that comes across in the way we lead in Toastmasters. It comes across in the way we deliver various efforts in Toastmasters. What we do there is we always make the best of what we have. And when I said the timer thing, it was one of the 2 of them that stands as chief timer, not a third one, because that would be quite a project that would have built over just timing. So it's one of the 2 of them. But then one way that has worked for us, for instance, is that because we do have those kind of meetings where we are member constrained, if I'll call it that, not many members around to play all the roles. Our screens have helped us then, because what the timer then does is that the timer shares that timing on does the people who are in the online audience. We use that as a means also to project the timing card rather than having a timer present physically also in the meeting. So that's just one practical way we have done that when we cannot find 2. But if you sit down to think about it, we can go on and on about ways that we can improvise different ways for different roles when we do not have the luxury of so many people available to play the roles. But remember, there's always a critical number of role players you need for any Toastmasters meeting. And I typically put that number around 6 to 7. If you have less than that, you shouldn't even be holding the Toastmasters meeting, because you will take away so much value from those kind of meetings here. Thank you.
Thank you very kindly. The Zinc DTM, Toastmaster Tari, I saw that your hand was up. I don't know if you still have a question or we move ahead.
No, that was an error. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you. DTM Chooks, I have a question. And my question borders on the fact that during hybrid meeting, and this is from first-hand experience in my own club, we'll have a situation whereby certain people will feel disconnected, most especially the online audience. And don't get me wrong, in this instance, we have role players from those attending online. We have role players there. The connectivity is not so bad. But somehow when you ask for feedback, they just tend to tell you that they were not feeling themselves they would have preferred to be present in the hall. So my question is this: how do you reduce to the barest minimum this this occurrence? That how do you reduce to the barest minimum members for attending online or feeling that less connected to the meeting?
Two quick things, Toastmaster Grace, two quick things. Communication is 55% visual. So much research has gone into proving that. Communication is 55% visual, 55% about what we see, the body gestures and all of that. The first thing to help with people feeling disconnected in a meeting is that they must be visually present. It's far more difficult for somebody who shows up for any meeting, a hybrid meeting, an online meeting, who is physically there on video, looking into the screen, interacting with people. It's far more difficult for that kind of person to feel disconnected in a meeting. So very simple test is, can you just sit up for the meeting? Because I see sometimes we join these online meetings and people just lie down and they're like, they're talking. Yes, somebody's talking, somebody's talking. Look, you will always feel disconnected. There's nothing we can do to help your case like that. But then if you come for a meeting and you come for that meeting in the totality of yourself, if I would say that, sit up, put on that video. That will cut out half of the potential disconnect you would ever feel in the meeting. The second thing is that you would engage. You should engage. That is if you do the two things, if you do those two things, show up visually, show up on video, and engage. And when I say engage, it's simple things. People are making comments in the chat box. You make the same comment. You see somebody's hair that you like there, you be like, oh, Toastmaster Tari, I love your picture. Toastmaster Hassan, wow, where did you sew that cloth that you are wearing? That agbada is fabulous. Connect me to your tailor. There is no way you will feel disconnected. That will take away 80% of the potential disconnection you will ever feel in a total in a Toastmasters meeting. So just those two things. Let's come back and see whether they still feel disconnected. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer. Do we have any other question?
Yes, please can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Distinguished Toastmaster Chuk, so what advice would you give to commercial hub Toastmasters for a club that is strictly online with members in different states of the country? So what advice would you give to us to enhance what's your advice to us?
Tough one, Toastmaster Cinderella. And the commercial hub, I got to know commercial hub last year, maybe just over a year ago, and did meet a few members of the club in Abuja last year. And I am a fan of the concept, especially because those concepts existed long before COVID and they were such a special set. And it's somehow sad to see that they are suffering from the post-COVID era, because I think it's just post-COVID that is causing all this online fatigue. And people that were doing their own online, generally, they never had any fatigue. We have now dragged the fatigue into them, because if COVID didn't happen, I don't think online clubs would maybe be in the place where they are today, or suffering some of the effects that the rest of our online engagements are suffering. The advice I would say is we would need to vary our engagement with Toastmasters, and it's similar to what you have done in traveling to Abuja and attending a meeting and realizing that there is more to this Toastmasters experience than just what we see online at our club meetings every week or every other week that we meet. Is to vary the experience, and we'll start from club leaders, and it has to be intentional. A number of times when we get to these points where it feels like we have plateaued, I see a lot of clubs, I see a lot of club excos who get to this point where it feels like they've plateaued and they are wondering what next. Everything is just blare and blah. There's no excitement. There's nothing that the energy is failing essentially. What we need at those kind of points is that we need a new experience. A number of club executives I've spoken with over the last few months, I have literally dragged them and said, okay, you guys, you're tired of this. attend the conference, go to the district conference, go to the national conference, go to a division contest if you have one like we have in Division E. Do something outside of your club to reignite the fire, to make you understand, to make you see once again that there is more to this Toastmasters experience than what you're experiencing at club level. And probably you are able to then bring some of that fire, some of that reignition back to your club. That's the only thing I'll put here at the moment. But it starts from the top. It starts from the leaders. It starts from the president down to all the leaders of the clubs, the gatekeepers of the club, all those past presidents who are still part of the very fabric of the club. They are the ones who will catch that fire and help the entire club catch some fire again. But it's a tough place to be, but that's one suggestion I'll put on the table, Toastmaster Cinderella.
Thank you so much. Well noted, sir.
And at this point, we'll take one last question. After that, we'll draw the curtain for the question and answer session. Toastmaster Muzamil Jibril said he's asking if hybrid meetings appear to consume more time. Please, what is your advice? Hybrid meetings appear to consume more time. Please, what is your advice? Over to you, DTM Troops.
Toastmaster Jibril, thank you. Thank you for your question. My advice is 3 words, 3 words. Again, if you forget anything, don't forget these 3 words. Preparation, preparation, preparation. That's the way you will ever combat spending excess time in hybrid meetings. And in the early days, it will take a bit of time. It will take more time than your regular meetings. You have meetings 90 minutes normally. You probably take an extra 15 minutes because things don't just work out the way you plan it. But the better you prepare for each meeting, the more on time you will get. It comes down to preparation, because the time you would use to test the speakers during the meeting, it's not during the meeting that someone speaks online and we realize by only hearing the person from laptop or from a phone or from something funny. No, it is before the meeting. It's the preparation before the meeting that ensures that the audio is working great, that the visuals are clear and the way that we want them to be. It comes down to preparation, just like every Toastmasters meeting, and just like it has been from time immemorial, 1924, when this great organization started. It comes down to preparation. And the better prepared we are, the more on time we will always be.
Thank you, DTM Chips, for that response. At this point, we draw the curtains for the question and answer session. And I would like to reiterate that. Thank you for reminding us to merge the good that came before COVID and the good that came with COVID, even post-COVID, and intentionally living with the new normal, which is the hybrid meeting. So, and do not forget, the foundation of every great hybrid meeting is preparation, preparation, preparation. Thank you so much, DTM Chooks. At this point, I would love to call on Toastmaster Austin Chooks for the toast. They say, he who cleans his cup with wine adds glory to a wine. That was said by John Stelling. So I'd like to confirm if Toastmaster Austin Chooks is on the call to propose a toast.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Grace, for the introduction. Once again, I'm Toastmaster Austin, and I thank you for this auspicious privilege to present or propose a toast. I did go through some quotes, mirror review quotes and gram quotes, and some of them are as follows. Meetings do not have to be endless, to be eternal. The second quote, the world is run by those who wait until the end of the meeting. Dear Toastmasters in the house, come rain, come shine, whether virtual, physical, or hybrid, we audaciously hope that our meetings are effective. Let us therefore drink to a more vibrant, nay, club quality club meetings in Toastmasters. And let us not forget to finish strong. For when we finish strong, we can begin much stronger. And just like Helen Keller, a Harvard graduate who was said to be blind and deaf, she says, together, everyone achieves more. Cheers. Let's see your cups. Let's see your glasses. Back to you, Toastmaster Grace.
Toastmaster Grace. Wow.
Thank you very kindly, Toastmaster Austin, for that toast. And at this point, for the lack of time and the want of it, we will hand over, or I will hand over the lectern to none other than the convener, Toastmaster Mavis Dennison. Over to you, please. Toastmaster Mavis, I can't hear you. Or is it just me?
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Am I
yes.
audible now?
Not so audible, but yes, you are.
Is it better?
Yes, it is. It's better.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gracie. Thank you, Team K. It's been an amazing meeting. I've always enjoyed it. My take home is preparation, preparation, and preparation. I have a few announcements to make. Next week is on the 26th of June, and we are having a joint service, both Anglophone and Francophone, and that will be where we will draw the curtains to our tenor. So I would want all of us to come in our numbers. I'll have meetings with the various touch points, the afterwork division, the afterwork team that I work with, and then they will relay the messages to the various divisions. So please kindly try and ensure that as we end our tenure for 2023, you would come on board. All too soon, we have come to the end of a great meeting. Like I said, do not forget, next week is going to be a banger. So please tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that next week is going to be a banger. Thank you so much. Please, I'll keep saying, do not, rush to go out. Just network, get to know people. And for my team in Ghana, please, the Toastmaster of the Year award, please vote for me, vote for moi. Go out there and vote, and I will appreciate you. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful evening. Thank you once again, Division K. Thank you, Team Afterwork, Anglophone. I appreciate you. Have a lovely evening. Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I got you. I got you. I the hell you.
My hands are in the air. Thank you very much. Toastmaster Ashiata, good to see you as always. I missed you in Lagos.
You should invite me to your club one of these days.
Don't worry, I've written it down already. Don't worry.
Please. Please.
You will be there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye. TM Grace. Well done, designing DTM.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ekuchi. Thank you. Thank you.
Is Dr. Nelson on call? No, can you on call? I didn't see him.
No, he's not here. He's not here today.
Good night.
Oh,
Good night, Toastmaster Ayodele.
Wonderful delivery.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Toastmaster Ashiata, thank you.
Agatrix, I have to see you for next week. There's some few things we need to discuss. So we have a meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
So after the meeting, then we can talk.
Okay, no worries. You know where to find me. Yeah.
Okay. Have a good evening.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Well done, DTM.
Thank you, Toastmaster Buakar Gimba. Thank you.
Is it okay to end the meeting now?